that's one of the biggest issues at Man United.
No, totally agree with that. On Garnacho, I just want to ask, am I tripping when I say that was a top-class goal? Because I keep getting told by people it was bang average.
Unbelievable goal. The whole performance of Garnacho today was great.
Cool. I want to make sure that I'm not on Cloud Cuckoo Land.
The technicality of the goal, I think. Right. Come on now.
So, most players can't get their feet sorted out in time to hit that goal. Never mind, get it on.
You got to work out maths. Go on, sorry to KJ. Go on, bro.
I was about to say, when have volleys, first-time finishes, been seen as average or crap or bang it? Like what's going on here?
Right, put it this way. We missed Amad Diallo missed a clear-cut volley. And respectfully, it's a difficult volley. I don't know if we sat here. I think I was on a different show. We sat here and we're talking about saying that is a very technically difficult goal to even get it on target from the angle. Everything's difficult. Now we've scored one, different player, of course, cool. But now we've scored. It's almost like average goal. The technicality to be able to do that and angle the ball is.
It's not just our fan base; it's also rivals as well. But here's the thing: it's because it's the player that does it. Because Garnacho he doesn't look nice. He's a headless chicken at times. He just keeps going and going and going.
I agree with this. Doesn't look like when I watch Garnacho play football, I understand he doesn't look like Silky or whatever, but the kid when he's running with the ball looks like a menace. Like it looks like for me, I would not want to be tracking back with Garnacho running at me. He looks like he's going to do something to you at all times.
People don't care about that. They don't care about
I know, but I think we as a football platform, and I'm gonna keep doing it anyway. You guys don't have to join in. I do care about people's eye tests and their opinions, but your eye test alone cannot be the yardstick. And the example I give is this. You mentioned Don. I mentioned Don again. Don does this all the time with Saka. He'll sit there and say, "Well, show me what he does if he isn't getting goals and assists." And whenever you question Don, and if I'm saying this wrong, shoot me down, KJ. I know you're always backstage on these shows, and sometimes you're on them. He'll say things like, "I want a player to be consistently involved and always be a thorn in their side and causing problems." And that's what Garnacho does. And he does things that annoy me. There are times where he goes to take a man on and he might kind of step on the ball a little bit, or he goes to turn on the inside and the player sees him. But I sometimes think there's two things. We forget that we are not a well-oiled machine yet as a team. And I agree there's things that I want to see him coached on better. But at the same time, the same fans that hate Garnacho will sit there and say things like, our manager can't coach, our manager is ruining players, our manager damages all of our technically gifted players. So based on your eye test of who's technically gifted versus who isn't, you say he's ruining the better players, but yet you're shitting on the players you think are not as technically gifted that are also not improving fast enough. The hypocrisy is crazy. I'll stand on this stance forever, and the only way you can change my mind is by disproving me. You can't score a goal like he did today if you don't have high technical ability. You can't do it. You can't score the overhead kick. You can't get none of those things. You can't do them. You can't do it without high technical ability. Rasmus Højlund, some of those touches and flicks around the corners, that finish, that is technical ability. It might not be the step overs and the flip flaps and the drag backs and whatever the fucking skills are called that you like, but those skills are important.
Even the skill for him to create.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Even the skill for him, one thing he does extremely well, and Rashford used to do it a lot more. He doesn't do it as much. When he creates just a little bit of space, just enough to get a shot on target. Like when he does that little tap and he's going full speed and he still gets the shot off. Today for me, when maybe he recognized it, the sun, I was like, guys, the sun's in, is like, keep shooting. Garnacho took like 4 shots all on target. That takes technical ability. Like shooting, like we see Nicholas Jackson, who I'm not hating on this much this year because he's scoring some goals. But we see this dude miss the target multiple times, and people are like, "Oh, well, he's techie. He brings guys into the game."
And that's funny as well. What you said as well. Rashford does the flip flaps, the drag backs. He does all of those things and still gets caught for doing that. So this is what I'm saying.
And some people, when they think of technical ability, they want someone who is sort of Frankie de Jong-esque, and they're really comfortable in close, compact spaces on the ball, very much an Iniesta or a Paul Scholes. And that's even the problem when people say technical ability, because you could line 10 people up against the wall and say, describe to me what you consider high technical ability to be in football. You could get 10 variations of the answer, which is why there has to be, and again, for different roles, it's different. That's why there has to be facts that back up your opinion. And I think for attackers, goals, assists, and level of creativity play a key component. I saw a tweet yesterday that says, surely we have to be adults enough now to admit that the only players that have consistently high GA over the history of football have been the best players. And I sort of read it. It wasn't the most well-worded tweet, but I read it and thought it's true. And then you get people talk about Ronaldinho or Maradona. And it's like, well, go and I've done this for years. You go and look at their GA per game and it's fucking high. The problem is that we just didn't have the access to the information, but we knew watching it while they were the best is because they look good. Oh, Raheem Sterling, that's beautiful. Oh, unlucky. They looked good, but they delivered at the end of it. If they were doing all those skills and tricks, but there was no delivery, if they were doing all those skills and tricks and there was no delivery at the end of it, they would never have been rated the way we rated them.
Well, this the issue I have with our era and this era of football, like, is either you got the aesthetics or you got the stats. We were blessed having the aesthetics. Like, I saw Ronaldinho give the ball away multiple times on the pitch, but the difference of that era was it was fearless football. We didn't care if you gave the ball away for the simple fact we saw you trying something. It was spontaneous. We saw what you were trying to do. It was never a thing. When he got it right, I saw my man no look pass halfway line, lob the ball straight over the top for Barca. He gets an assist. It was not the fact that he just did it with the no look that happened. He's actually got the result at the end. Now we're in an era where aesthetics are the main thing. If you look like you're doing something great, you're a baller, even if you're not effective with it in the end. This is why when I spoke about Bruno and Kevin De Bruyne a long time ago, and I said people walked over the simple fact that Kevin De Bruyne gave the ball away the most times in the league. It was literally when everyone was getting onto Bruno for giving the ball away. And I said, wait there, how can you have a different metric for Bruno and a different metric for KDB when you cuss Bruno for the thing KDB does? I did it with Eriksen. He's making same Hollywood passes, but he looked great doing it. Looking good on the ball is not as important as being effective. You can be ugly and make that pass happen. And
you are,
like you said, Bruno's numbers.
You're spot on. You're spot on with it.
Right,
but what it always comes
more important than aesthetics.
But what there's aesthetics, and then they do one thing that KDB does, which is miles better than Bruno doing it, is in his pomp. KDB picking the ball up and driving with it is dangerous because he's got explosive speed.
You can drive
So what will happen is with some people, it will be a case of, well, there's something that KDB does that Bruno doesn't. And because of that, I'm going to shit on everything else that Bruno does, especially the United fans that don't like him, because it's almost, I'm annoyed that he can't do that. It's a very weird way we look at football nowadays at times. And it's almost this case of, and Man United have had a problem with this, and KJ said it earlier, is we miss profile too often. Still today, we played well, but what we lack is a technically gifted powerhouse in midfield. What you actually need is Scott McTominay, who is technically gifted, who can drive with the ball at his feet, but he's also exactly. But which is funny. Some of the best football I've seen at United in the last 11 years was when Pogba and Bruno first started playing together, because they, in my opinion, they brought the bet, and that's why I couldn't believe the way that both their fans had a go at each other. It was like, you lot are mental, like Pogba fanboys and Bruno fanboys at each other's throats. I'm sitting there going, they love playing with each other. And all we needed at that time, actually, was what we kind of have now in Casemiro and Ugarte. If you could actually take Pogba and Bruno from back then and give us the DMs we have now, it would have come together. And that's the Man United's problem. We've never actually completed a squad build properly. And we consistently miss profile and play people out of position. And we're too much on the left and not enough balance on the right. And then what we do as fans is we start attacking players that we may not necessarily like from an aesthetic point of view, or he doesn't run enough with the ball, or he's not a dribbler like Eriksen. I don't hate Eriksen because he's not powerful on the ball. I know what Eriksen is. So if you're going to use him, you've got to use him in scenarios where where you don't need someone who has to be powerful, because that isn't what he is. And too often it's good we're spoiled in that way as fans. Sorry, just want to comment here. This says Cam. His name is the Scottish King of Napoli now, Scott McTominay.
I'm happy for him, man.
Ahmad has no personality and character to play for Man United. I mean,
well, that's not true. That's clearly not true. Because you've heard the boys speak, you understand his character. And if you've seen him, when you saw him at the start of the season, you saw he had character on the pitch.
Yeah.
Bro, that's coming from a Canadian. You can't be talking about personality and character up here. Most Canadians are vanilla as shit. Sorry.
No, I agree with that. This is an interesting one. It says, make it make sense. Ten Hag is only 3 points behind Enzo Maresca and Chelsea.
Yeah, 9 games in, or 8 games in. Like
things felt worse than what they were. I'll be honest, and I think it's because the games where we did play well, we didn't get the results. It was that's another day to have a manager pop. There was a balance not there, and I think every game's been manager as opposed to this one manager, that one plays, this one manager, that one plays, that one manager twice in a row. I think it's been like that, but I think if you balance it out on the scale, you probably understand that it's not as deep as we've made it out to be.
No, it has. No, I'm sorry. I still disagree with that. It has been deep in terms of the way we play on the pitch. Results, maybe.
Not saying. Sorry, just for correction. Not saying based on the way we played. I'm just saying where a portion of blame has been when what he's tried to do on the pitch has worked out, but we haven't put the ball in the net. We haven't scored. We haven't capitalized. We've been unlucky with decisions X, Y, Z. All parts of the football thing that people don't want to talk about because they need a scapegoat. We can't sit there and go, Xerxes goal against Brighton would have counted. That would have 2-1 behind. Would have carried on with momentum, which we would have. And carried on, saw the game out. All those things there were Ten Hag's fault. To me, that's not analysing the game. But I think if you're building up this idea of manager in your head, you're planting that seed every time.
Where it becomes problematic for Chelsea, who by the way I've been praising, but I'm throwing this out there. If they lose their game against Liverpool and then we win our next game, maybe they draw and we're suddenly a point or so behind them. It becomes an interesting question for how bad a Man United. It becomes a conversation. We're not having it now, but how bad are Man United compared to how good are Chelsea if the league doesn't lie? And we were told the league didn't lie when we were 14th. It can't lie 2 games later if we're suddenly a couple of points off a team that, again, Don and CB have said are in a title race. So
I saw that.
But what I'm saying is this. If we perform like we did in the second half more regularly, we could be a team that finishes top 6. We could be a team that pushes for top 4. We could be a team that wins trophies this season. That second half was excellent. I now want to see more of that. Look, viewers, I want to say a big thank you.
Real quick. Go on. Just because it's like the midfield thing came up, and it's no surprise. And I know this is going to be a bit hyperbolic, but it's no surprise that our midfield looked the best since it has in a long time, when you have the 3 that have looked the best since, I'm trying to make sense of this, but Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno were our best midfield in that year that we looked the best, and they look the best this year again. So it's all about getting it right, timeliness. When you brought up Pogba, Bruno, and having a Casemiro Ugarte at the right time, now we're missing an Eriksen who's younger, who has legs to fit in what we have at the current moment. Because I think that's where Staffy is right. That's where Staffy was right in the summer. As much as I think Ugarte is good at what he does, if we'd have gone and bought, I know he ain't been fit much this year, but if we'd have gone and bought a Frankie de Jong as an example, if we'd have gone and bought a Zubamendi as an example, and you put that in there, there's a difference there. But Ugarte's not for now; he's for future.
No, I understand that. That's why I'm not annoyed about the Ugarte signing. It's what else we don't have. I wouldn't. Again, that's where me and Staffy. That's where me and Staffy I think are a little bit different. I know he's not here to defend himself. I don't take that out on the player that I didn't necessarily want. I look at the club and say you've got to buy more. But I think that equally though, even if you had all those players, if we play Ten Hag's Island where we empty the midfield and it's one guy left by himself, if you're up against a team that's got legs in it, you're in trouble still. So you've still got to stay compact, because Man City are looked at as the best team in the world. Great. That's because they stay compact. In and out of possession, they are rarely exposed, and we need to get better at doing that. But look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in.